So today we'll be reviewing how to access and review your budgets in M3 Insight. So the first is we'll access M3 Insight. It's the same login that you'll use for your variance reports each month. And when we log in here, the first page that will come up is a module called Business Intelligence. This is where you access all the dashboards that you've created or that have been shared with you. And from here, we'll navigate to the budget section. So in the top left, there's a horizontal lines here. We'll click on that and it will open a new window here for you to access your budget and forecast. So we'll click on this and it will open a new screen. This section does default to your forecast, which we use. So you'll have something populated here. When you go to review, you'll click on the budgets tab across the very top first. And you'll have your company, your property, the fiscal year. You'll want to make sure you're in 2026, and it will say name budget. You want to make sure you're in your 2026 budget. Now, this may default you to 2025, and you'll see that here. So to navigate into 2026, you'll come into the filters on the right-hand side. And from this drop-down menu that says fiscal year, you'll change it from 2025 to 2026. And you'll find your property and click anywhere along this line to open that up. For training, we'll be in the forecast tab. So I'm going to come back over here and access the training forecast. But when you open your budget, it will look exactly the same. So that's why you want to make sure you're in the budgets tab and you're in the correct year. So when you open this up, it will have just every line item listed. What you're able to do is you can put this in the same format as your P&L, and so it'll be more similar to what you're used to reviewing. So in the right hand in the top, there's a $sign with a slash through it. If you click on that, it will put all of this information in the same order, the same layout as your P&L statement. This very top section, anything that says custom, these are all formulas that we have entered in the template to get it to work. So this is not anything that needs to be reviewed. This is all just informational. You can scroll past it. And then these lines are all your P&L summary page. So this is not anything that you fill in. It's all just pulled from down below. So we'll scroll past this. These are all summaries. We'll keep scrolling past your line that says net profit and loss. That'll be the end of your P&L summary page. And now we're in the revenue section. Now the revenues come from the sales department, so there's nothing much that you're able to review in this section. We'll keep going until we hit our first expense line, which is the front desk. Now in this screen, all you'll see is the summaries. So you'll see the year's total and what we've budgeted in each month. So you have January, February, March, and those amounts for each month down below. If you want to see the details of what we've budgeted for any of these accounts, you'll just click anywhere on the line, and that will open the detailed screen for you. And from here, there's some information that we can review. We have our GL department and the GL code. In the left, we have our driver. What a driver is it tells this template in M3 Insight how this line item should be calculated. So if it's going to be labor or if it's a percentage of something, there's some different options that we'll go through of how to read each of those driver types. So this is labor hourly, and it's done based on days. So what we have is we have 16 hours a day that we budget for the front desk. And so it will list how many days are in each month. You want 16 hours per each day. And then in this column on the right, we have the average wage. So this is the wage rate that has been approved by Human Resources and by your RVP. So we have gone through a review cycle of this. It's a weighted average of what you're currently doing. And then we have in June the merit increase that we do annually. So when we're looking at this for the review process, the average wages won't change, but you can look at the hours per day and let us know if there's going to be adjustments that we need there. If you're a little bit slower in the winter and we can reduce that, or vice versa. Those are the things that you'll be looking at for this section. Now the add hours column, this is an additional 5 hours per month that you get. It's not per day, it's per month. And that's to account for things like overtime, or if you have a second person scheduled some days, just to give you a little bit of cushion in your budget. We probably won't add any hours to the additional hours column besides the 5 that we grant you, but you can look at the standard hours per 16 per day and see if adjustments need to be made there. Now, it is sometimes helpful to compare what we have budgeted to what you've been doing. So to do that, we'll come here to the compare on the right, and we'll hit add column. You have options of what you can compare it to. Most helpful will probably be your actuals. So you'll come into the actuals tab and click what year do you want to compare it to. So we'll click 2025. And we'll see what the variance is. And we'll hit add. And that will show you how the current budget's looking compared to what you've actually been doing so far in 2025. Now, the comparison columns are driven on the driver type. So anything that is listed as labor hourly will now have this comparison column. And the comparison columns will stay on the review template every time that you log in. So if you do have to pause and come back, you won't have to add these in a second time. They'll still be there when you log back in. So once you're finished reviewing this section, you can navigate to the next line by coming into the top right corner. There's an arrow to move to the next account, and that will pull up the executive housekeeper. Now this is a different driver type. This will be labor salary. So instead of being done based on hours per day, it's the salary for the year. We'll have the current base salary and then the merit increases in June. So from June on, you'll see that increase. This is a new driver type, so the comparison column is not here. We'll have to hit add column and come into 2025, hit that variance, and it will show you how this compares to 2025. Once you finish the review of this section, we can navigate to the next line item. And this will be your room attendance. So this is a labor hourly driver. So it's driven off of hours just like the front desk, but the time, instead of being the same amount every day, will be based on your minutes per cleaned room. So what we have here is 33 minutes per cleaned room, and then we have it as a percentage of rooms cleaned. This is one of the formula lines that we created to make this template work. So we have your percentage, your minutes, and then your average wage, and the same 5 hours per month to account for any additional needs that you have. Since this is a labor hourly driver, our comparison column is populated here for us already. And again, we won't be making changes to the average wages. Those have been approved. The minutes will probably not change much. We're probably keeping those the same for everyone. But where you have flexibility is in the percentage of rooms cleaned. So I'll show you the document where we can make that adjustment for you. You'll each get an Excel file with your budget that will look like this. We've sent this out in the past as well. And we'll be listing how some of these things are calculated. So you should have your room attendance here. We have 65% of rooms cleaned and 33 minutes per clean room. Where we'll be able to make adjustments is in your percentage of rooms cleaned if we need to increase or decrease that with your hotel's needs. This will be where you make that request. And we'll come back into this document a little bit more, but this is a good companion piece for when you're reviewing your budget to see where some of those things are being calculated from. So I'll come back into your budget and forecast, and you can scroll through this department line by line if you like, and it will show you again how many hours per day, what the average wage is, and give you that calculation. Or if you want to navigate back to the main budget, in the top left, you do have this back arrow, and it will keep you at the last item that you reviewed. So we were here in housekeeping inspectors, and it pulled us down to that section. So once you're finished reviewing those items, you can come into your room's expenses, and I'll show you a couple other driver types while we're in here. So this is Platinum Rewards. The driver type is a POR. So when you open that up, again, we have a new driver type. It's POR here on the left. And since it's a new driver type, we don't have a comparison column yet. So we'll hit Add Column, and we'll pull the 2025 variance. And it'll show us how we're comparing to our 2025 actuals. Now this POR is 8 cents, so that's 8 cents per occupied room. It'll show you the rooms rented for each month. And again, that comes from the sales department, so that probably won't change much in your review. And you can review this and let us know, are there some months where you might need 10 cents per occupied room or those types of things. So once you've finished reviewing this line and you've made your comments for the comparison document, you can either hit next to move to the next account, or you can hit this back arrow and it'll pull up the main budget for you. And again, we're still down here in our Platinum Rewards. It'll highlight the last item that you were in. So the next thing I'll open is agency commissions. This is a driver type percentage. So we'll click on that. And again, since it's a new driver type as a percentage, we don't have the comparison column, so we'll add a new one. And it will give you the percentage of, so we have 14% of the agency commissions travel rate. So this one may have been not a good one to pull. So the way that this is calculated, again, is going to be on your Excel file here. So we'll come down into agency commissions, and we have the calculation typed out here for you. So it's your total revenue without your pet revenue times 10%. That's the commission rate that the agencies charge, times we estimate 14% of your guests are going through a travel agency. So the 10% commission rate we won't change, but the 14% is where there's some flexibility. So if you think that next year that percentage is going to go up or down, we can make that adjustment there. But this is just informational for you of how we've calculated that. and you can let us know if there's any changes that need to be made. So we'll come back into your Insight budget, and we'll hit this back arrow to go back into the main page. And we'll come down into a new driver type, which is this itemize. And I'm going to open that. It's your cable TV. Now, the itemized driver type we see a lot in like your telecom sections and in your cable. And what this is it allows us to list what specifically is going into that account each month from what vendor. So again, this is a new driver type, it's itemized, so we'll hit add column, so we get that comparison. And it will say, we have Enseo, it's $500 a month, and then we have Charter, and it's $1,500 a month. And we'll see how that compares to what we're doing right now in 2025. Now, this is helpful because if you're changing vendors or if you've gotten a new contract and the amount that's due has adjusted, this is where you'll be able to see if that change has been made in your budget. And if it hasn't, then you can make a note of that and we'll make that adjustment for you. So once you're finished reviewing this, again, you can either navigate to the next line item by clicking this arrow in the top right, or you can go back to the main budget by clicking the back arrow in the top left. And it'll keep us here in our last item that we've accessed, which is cable TV. And we will come down to manual. So I'm going to pull up a new driver type. This is manual. And what this is where we know there will be some expenses in this line item. We just don't really know when or how much they will be. So we give you a little bit of budget just so that you can have some amount accounted for 2026. So again, this is a new driver type. This is manual. So we'll come back into add column on the right and we'll add our 2025 variances. And we'll see that we had an annual value budgeted of $500. So we expect that sometime throughout the year, we will spend around $500 in this account. But since we don't know when or how much each invoice is going to be, we just add kind of a lump sum amount to this line item. So once you've reviewed this section and you made your comments in the comments file, again, we can either navigate in the top right or we can go back to the main screen in the top left. And we'll scroll through. I think those are all the driver types that we have. We have manual, itemized, PORs, percentage, and our 2 labor types. Yes. So, as you're going through this document in M3 Insight, you should also have this Excel file pulled up. So this is a file that we create for each property, and it gives you, as we kind of touched on, the calculations of how we came to certain amounts, but it also gives you some questions that we have as we're writing your budget. So for instance, this property we asked, they have 8 hours a day for their food server, but they're currently not using that many. It's high compared to what they've been doing historically. So as you're making this review, if this column is blacked out, we don't need a response. It's just informational. But if it isn't, if this is empty here in the responses column, we are asking a question and we need you to respond to that question so we can make the adjustments. So as you're going, I don't need a response on the front desk, but I do need a response on food server A. I need to know how many hours per day is necessary for this property. And you can just type that in right here. Now, if we're reviewing anything if you guys are reviewing and you have questions, you have comments, things to add or move, then you can add that down here at the bottom if you don't already see it listed. So we would just need the date, the initials of the person making the change or the request, the GL department and the GL code, and then just what you are requesting. And as much detail as you can put in this section is helpful. So if you're requesting for a certain period, we need to know what period it wants to go in. If you can explain why something is needed, just as much detail as you're able to give us, and then we will review and respond. So we'll either make the change and note it as a change that we've made, or if we deny the request, we'll put that the request has been denied, and we'll put a reason why that we weren't able to accommodate that for you. And then you'll get a second round. Once we respond to your comments and we make the adjustments based on your responses to ours, we will send you a second round to review and sign off on. So this document you will want to fill out completely and return to us. And then when you're in here in Insight, this is all going to be locked. So you won't be able to make any changes in Insight. You will have to fill in that Excel file and return it to us. All right, I think that's all that I have. So you just want to make sure that you pull this up in M3 Insight, you go through each line, you're looking at the driver types, you're making sure the driver types match the line items. If there's anything that you want to add or change, you're wanting to add it to the Excel file here at the bottom. If you have any questions on how something was calculated, it should be listed here in the top half. And if it's not, of course, you can always give us a call and we're happy to walk through things in a little bit more detail with you. All right. Thanks.